Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Just getting a sound check real quick. I'll be with you in just a second. Peace and blessings to you all. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is David Meni, and this is the Big Money Meni Book Club. And this is a channel dedicated to self-improvement. It's all about reading awesome books from awesome people that have done something prominent, done something amazing in their lives. And it's all about learning from these people who have taken the time to write about their experiences, share their nuggets, share what works for them, share their keys to success, and just their keys to happiness in life. And I believe that by spending the time going over these things, reading up on what these authors take the time and effort to put into their writing, it helps us to speed along the process for whatever it is that you're doing. If you're running a business, if you're building a church, whatever sort of organization that you have, if you're trying to climb the ladders of success at your job, it helps to learn from those who have done something great, so done something that most other people haven't done, and just even putting out a book is a major accomplishment. One of my dreams, that's actually. So yeah, this channel, we're, if you don't follow the channel, and we're just starting to broadcast out on Facebook as well, just to sort of to get this thing going, as we're trying to build this channel. This channel came about because we were self-improvement junkies, listening to just all these motivational channels just to get us going with the business, to help us stay motivated, help us stay focused on the right things. And I ended up, becoming such a podcast junkie, listening more to podcasts and seeking truth and seeking wisdom above all else, that it became pretty much, I was just consumed by it, so one thing led to another. One of our goals was to read 6 books this year. Now, right now we're in our second. We're definitely we fell behind the ball a long time ago, but it's not about being perfect. It's about making an effort to get better. Fall short, you don't reach your goals, at least you try something different. At least you made an effort. So here we are, with this podcast, and definitely we put some money behind it. We put some effort behind it, definitely sacrificing sleep. And I'm definitely not following one of the rules that this book has taught us about properly managing our sleep patterns. But it's worth it, because I have a goal to get this information out there to help those who don't have the time to self-improve the way that we do here in our business, and hopefully inspire others to do the same, to not stay the same, not get into that same old routine, and work on themselves. Self-development, man, is an amazing thing. I love to see it. I love to see people be prosperous and attribute all their accolades to self-improving. I think it's an amazing thing. So here we are with this channel, guys. This is not rehearsed. This is not scripted. This is all live. Basically what I do, if you haven't followed our channel, if you haven't been following our channel, what I'll do is I'll read up to the point to where I can't no more. I try to do like a chapter if I'm gonna make a video, and I'll just pull some highlights out of that chapter and cover it with you all. This is a book club. We're not going to talk about whatever sports or anything like that. I'll just share a little bit about what's going on in my life, and my ultimate goal is just really document my thoughts, not for my benefit, but because one of the things I do value, and one of the things I wish I had more of, is video of my parents, my dad, who's passed away a couple years ago. Video of my grandfather, who was a preacher. My dad was the one that videotaped everybody in church. He's always had that camcorder, the big one that sits on your shoulder like a boombox, or like a rocket launcher. He'd have that thing all the time, and people would hate that he would be videotaping them. But that's back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s. Today, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's recording themselves, but back in the day, my dad was the one that was documenting everything, along with a couple other gentlemen at the church. But those videos, now that my dad's not here, man, I wish I can get my hands on those videos. I wish I can see what was documented of the past. And so part of why I'm doing what I'm doing here. This is different, and I love being different, like being weird, like doing the weird things that people don't do. Like putting himself out there on a podcast like this. But one of the reasons why I'm doing is because we won't be here forever, and I want my son to hear my voice and know my thoughts on things, my perspectives, long after I'm gone. So this is a way of leaving behind a version of myself, if you will. So that's the reason why we do this, and to get better. The more you read, the more successful you will be. If money's your thing, then great. If cars is your thing, then great. Whatever it is you want to get after, it starts with self-improvement. So here we are, guys. This is our book, Bedros Keuilian's Man Up. We are now in chapter 7, and what an exciting chapter. It was a long chapter, but I'm going to fly through this thing. I'll try to paraphrase as much as I can. All right, so Bedros Keuilian is a CEO, founder of the Fit Body Bootcamp gyms. You might see all around. They're all over the place. I've seen 3 or 4, 5 or 6, maybe, I don't know. I've seen a lot traveling around Southern California alone. He's got businesses everywhere, and he's capitalized that industry on coaching others on how to run a business in fitness. All right, and so he started off advising people. Well, you guys should watch the other videos of this channel and catch up to who he is. Amazing individual, definitely, a person, a figure that men need to, aspire to. I think he represents what we've lost as men throughout the generations. Today's generation, I don't know, it's just in my experience in business. Young men today are not people of their word, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me as a trainer and as a business owner. And for others, I look at other business owners, and they're all taking up the slack of this newer generation that lacks this discipline and this integrity. They're not men of their word. If you want to change my mind, you could leave a comment and we'll go over that. But that's just my thoughts as a business owner, and working with a plethora of people. I find that there's a lot of people that just not cut out for business. They're meant to be at a job and to enslave themselves, at a job under the will of another person. That personally is not for me, but to each their own. So today, guys, just want to get this channel, let's get this chapter going. So again, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't seen this before. Support the channel, support what we're doing here by helping people to get better, by self-improvement. We are at Big Money Meni on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Maybe not for long. I don't really like TikTok. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All right. Again, this is our book, Man Up. You can see the title right here, Bedros Keuilian's Man Up. That's the cover of the title. This is the author right here. And today, I'll recap real quick on yesterday's our last video's chapter was chapter 6, the 5% rule. And pretty much the 5% rule, it says right here, I focus exclusively and unrelentingly on the 5% of things in my business and in life that only I can do. What a rule to live by. Definitely a tunnel vision, hyper focus way of thinking, to maximize your efforts so that you, as the business owner, the driver of your business, are completely focused on the one thing that only you can do as the owner. Therefore, learning to delegate your work, the rest of your business, and you can just focus on the small percentage that has to be done, the crucial work, right? He talks about the difference between trivial work and the critical work, right? And it says it's simple. When you apply the 5% rule to your business, it'll free you from the trivial tasks and waste of your time. That's awesome. So moving on, today is chapter 7. All right, what do you think? The title is, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? What an awesome title to a chapter. If you don't know, this reminds me of Keith Otto, who's in our business, one of the leaders there, who says that if you don't like sales, you need to know that everybody's in sales. When you're with your wife and you're trying to figure out what you want to eat, it's a competition between two minds trying to decide, and you're trying to sell each other on what's the better place to go and eat. And so here we're talking about being indecisive, right? So the title is, again, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Starts off with Bedros Keuilian talking about a small business that he was a part of. He was a district manager there. And he says that this business was run very unprofessionally. And he gives it a small example. He says that he was a district manager of the company, and they had bi-monthly checks, right? So 2 checks a month. And as the manager, he was getting frustrated because what happened was he was looking for his check. His boss sent him a stack of checks and gets him on the phone and says, Bedros, could you hold off on distributing these checks for a bit? He says, we don't have the money in the account right now. All right. And so he says this company was big enough that this practice seemed shady, but he said that he was young and he wanted to do well as a manager, so he didn't say anything. And I could totally relate to Bedros because I've worked as a security guard for many small companies. And, man, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. Some of you guys have a big company where, this stuff doesn't fly. But I'm a big, what do you call that? I'm against jobs. I think jobs are really, they really hurt people in the long run, definitely long term. It's not for me. I see a lot of people lose out on pensions very late in their lifetime, and I think that sucks. That the big corporations don't care for the little guys who are worked very hard for that company. And I've been with little companies where they'll issue you a check and say, don't cash it until this day. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that sucks. So here's the boss telling him, as the manager, saying, hey, distribute these checks, but you got to hold off on them for a bit because we don't have the money yet. He says because he was young and he wanted to do well, he didn't say anything. And he says, I have all the people understand how companies can find themselves at the razor's edge. But this went on for 6 months. Each time there was a new set of excuses, and the employees would get paid eventually. But a lot of times their checks would bounce. Even my own checks were bouncing, he said. That is horrible, right? So he says, I think I felt loyal or maybe just too scared. And I've been there where I've had guys come in and the money wasn't going to be issued when the boss said that the money would be there, and I would have people hold off. I'd have people show up to the job site looking for a job, showing up on their day off, trying to get money, the money that was rightfully theirs. But because a very unprofessional business that was run by unprofessional people, the checks were not issued, right? And so I'm related to him on many levels here, and I'm gonna cover that in just in a little bit. All right, but he says that he felt loyal to the company, as a young manager. He says, or maybe I was just too scared. And I've been there too, being a supervisor, being a leader of other teammates, and given responsibilities from the boss. You don't want to let the boss down, but at the same time, everybody's looking at you like, where's my money at? Right. And so that pressure is something else. So what's crazy is he says that I also, I didn't say anything to the higher ups in the organization because I was the boss of all the people in my district. I also internalized the anxiety of having to give these checks. He said after a month, he said to himself, should I quit? Should I stay? Should I say something? Should I report them? I couldn't make a decision. And a week after went by with the stress building up. And he says what happened was it came to a head one day when I found out that I had been bleeding from an ulcer in my stomach. The stress had actually caused my gut to rip open. So he says he internalized the anxiety of having to give out those checks. Here's the thing. If you're in management and you're taking on a lot of that pressure for the company, and we learned this in business, the reason why managers get paid so much is because they are getting paid not to deliver at the job, right? The operations of the daily tasks of the business or the company. That's for the lower level employees to go and do the daily tasks and get all that stuff done. The manager gets paid a lot more because he's really getting paid not just for his time and his efforts and for his knowledge of the business. He's getting paid to take on that mental load, right? The anxiety. He's there to suffer, and that's what he's getting paid for. That's why he's getting paid the big bucks, the $100,000 job, because he's internalizing all of this stress. All right. So he says here, I internalized the anxiety of having to give out these checks, and I've been there before. I can relate to that. And that it totally sucks because you're suffering due to a very unprofessional manager of the real management, the upper management, right? And nobody wants to be there. I definitely think that it's not worth the money. It's not worth the money to get paid because you're handling someone else's, you're taking on the load of a very unprofessional manager or owner, right? And so what happens is, he says that it came to a head one day when he found out that he had been bleeding from an ulcer in the stomach because of the stress. If you don't know, stress will eat away at the mucus in the stomach lining, right? So that's what keeps the stomach acids in your body from burning out, as it processes the food that you eat. But because of stress, that mucus thins in the layers, and the acids will start to burn through your stomach lining pretty much, right? So that's what happened because of stress. So if you're stressing, please stop stressing out. Find something to do. Listen to some good blues music. I got my blues music on today. If you don't know, fun fact, David Meni's favorite music is blues. Not reggae, not anything else. Blues is the best. It relaxes me. So find something that'll relax you. Pick up a hobby, do the woosah thing, whatever you got to do to eliminate stress from yourself, from all the stresses from work, from family. I'm definitely taking on a lot of stress this week with not complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm a new stay-home teacher, in schooling our kids, and definitely it's a challenge. It is a challenge, but I'm up for it. But you got to find ways to relax throughout your day, throughout your week. Have some me time. I personally like doing these podcasts. It relaxes me as well. Even though it takes up the time just to take the notes and all stuff like that, I think it's worth it. But anyway, back to the topic here. You want to eliminate stress from your life as much as possible. So find ways to get rid of that stress, right? And so he says that he couldn't digest his food properly. He couldn't eat. He could only eat small meals throughout the day. And he was popping antacids all day for the rest of the day just to keep his stomach quiet. And to me, it's a crazy thing to see, to hear, to read. But this happens a lot, and there's just a pride that people have that they will suffer to hold on to a position, They will suffer to hold on to a job, whether it's for the money, whether it's for the accolades, whether it's because they've invested so much time into that position, trying to get up and, climb the ladders of success at their job. People have this sort of pride, and pride behind your work. And there's a good aspect to it. If you are a person who is great at their craft, and you just have a love for doing what you do. Maybe you have a pride of your work that you are happy to provide for your family, and so it keeps you going, and you're able to suffer a lot more because you have that pride to drive you. But then there's another pride to where people are holding on to a position so bad, even though it's bad for their health. And I don't want to see that for people. There's people that we know, in family and amongst friends, who work hard at their job, and yes, it puts food on the table, but if it's going to hurt you, if you have to suffer for it, don't take it as if you're suffering for your family. Definitely find we're in a land of opportunity. There's all kinds of opportunities out there for you to find something that's not going to rip your gut open like Bedros Keuilian is talking about here. And, and I believe in this so much because trying to work 2 or 3 jobs at a time. I've done that before early in my marriage, and, got into an accident because I fell asleep on the freeway trying to work multiple jobs. It's not worth it. If you can do it, then great. If it's easy, then go ahead and do it for your family. But, looking at him right now, I see a lot of people that are sticking really hard. They hold on to these jobs, but if it's gonna hurt you and affect your health, definitely don't stick with it. Find something else, guys. All right. And so he says, I knew I should have quit, but I didn't. I was indecisive, and I'm convinced that those months have taken years off of my life. All right. So indecisiveness is what the real topic of this channel is. That's why of this chapter. All right. So the chapter was, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? So he says, I was indecisive, and I'm convinced that the months that he took at that job have taken years off of his life with that ulcer. So he says, that's not the only time I was indecisive. In the early years of Fit Body Boot Camp, which is his business, I decided making decisions about the structure that I delayed decisions about the structure of the business, and ended up costing me almost $500,000. So he talks about when he launches this Fit Body Boot Camp early in 2010, and it was a licensing program on paper and not a franchise. So what happens is there's details and legalities, right, between a franchise and a licensing program, right? So there's very thin lines, and the federal government, the tax and FBI have to know what type of business you have, and they want it on paper, and they want to, and you got to operate as such. And so what happens is he was operating as a licensing program, not a a franchise. And so it says here that there are certain distinctions that the government in your state, depending on what state you're in, have to go by. And if you're operating out of the looks to determine if you are operating as a franchise or a licensing program, one of the distinctions was the fact that we were assigning territories to our licensees. So anytime somebody bought a gym from him, he would make sure that they had a territory, and you couldn't open a gym within a certain parameter of another gym. That way it could keep the cost fair, and everybody was asked to sell their products, their memberships, their advice, their advising, so they had to sell all of these at the same price to keep things fair and to keep competition going, right? And so that was their program. So one day the great state of California came knocking on the door and says that you guys have not been listed as a franchise, even though you're clearly operating as a franchise. So they were slapped with fines, which was about, I'm trying to see where it says it was. State of California, as if they're operating a franchise. Sorry about that. And that was a big no, I must admit. Okay, so he knew that they were kind of crossing the line, right? That they're walking a fine line right there, right, with the law. And he didn't want to go into franchising yet in the spirit of delivering better service, but we weren't 100% sure of this fact. He said rather than doing the research and figuring it out if they should get franchised or not, and hiring an attorney to officially help them become a franchise, he says we decided to take the wait and see approach. Right? Sorry, guys. The wait and see approach. This is what indecisive people do. So here's the thing. You're either operating as a franchise or as a licensing group, right? They were saying that they were a licensing group, but they were actually operating as a franchise. Now he says that they were not sure, and the law stepped in and says, yeah, you guys are supposed to be a franchise. So what happened is they got slapped with fines up to $450,000, right? It was $2,500 per location, and that came out to be $450,000. So they had to pay up this money to the government, right? The big brother wanted their money, $450,000, and he says at the time I didn't have it. But here's the lesson here, right? Instead of taking the time and hiring a lawyer to get them through the franchising process, right, he decided to take the wait and see approach. And this is what indecisive people do. Isn't that true? This is what we do. This is what we do. We do for people who are indecisive, and I will admit that I'm very indecisive at times. And sometimes my wife will alert me of things that we got to do, and remind me of the urgency of it. And I'll say, yeah, we'll see. We'll give it some time. Put it off for another time. We become procrastinators, right? We put it off. And so what happened is, here comes that fine for $450,000, right? And he says that he didn't have the money, and that's exactly what he told the state. But he says, thank God, the state came back to us saying that we would waive the fines since it was an honest mistake on your part, right? But there's one condition. We had to make sure that you can't sell another location until you officially become franchised. So for the next 11 months, they didn't sell a single location, and it cost them $150,000 of new business, right? So he didn't have to pay the $450,000. He was grateful for that, but he did lose out on $150,000 of new business, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's a good amount of money. And so throughout the year, the next 11 months, they got through the process, paid up $150,000. Or sorry, they lost out on $150,000. They had to pay a lawyer, right? Which was, what did he say? $40,000. He paid a lawyer $40,000 to get him through the franchising process, right? And so there was a $450,000 lesson there, right? Indecision cost me a lot of money, grief, and headaches. It wasn't the first time that indecision cost me, and it wouldn't be the last. The bottom line is not making a decision. Not making a decision is often worse than making a bad or wrong decision. In fact, not making a decision is making a decision. That's huge, right? So it allows, when you don't make a decision, right, that is actually a decision of your own. Right? If by you not taking action, by you not making a move, that is a decision, right? And so when you don't make a move, when you ought to, when there's a circumstance, when you don't make a decision, when you don't make a, decide to be the leader and say, this is what we're going to do. Here's what happens. It allows the circumstances to make the decision for you. Indecisiveness gives control of your outcome to others. How true is this, right? How true is that? When you don't make the decision, you are allowing other people to make a choice for you. All right, you don't want that. You don't want to live with that. Being indecisive is a business killer, and it's a personal killer. Weak leaders procrastinate so much on a decision that by the time they make it, they've already lost the opportunity, time, money, respect, or the element of surprise that they needed to crush their competition. They end up broke and stressed, and they struggle throughout their entrepreneurial careers. Ironically, the reason why they don't make decisions is because they look at the decision as a risk, and they attempt to get all the facts before making a decision. How many of you are guilty of that? You don't want to make a decision just yet because you feel like it's too risky, and you want to get more information. You want to put the facts together. You want to weigh out your outcomes. All right. But he says, I got news for you. Okay. You've chosen to be an entrepreneur. Therefore, you're in the risk taking business. Amazing. Right. So you simply can't wait to gather all the facts and information that you need before you can go and make a decision. At best, you're going to have a fraction of the information you need at any given time, and you better be okay with making a decision in those situations. How true is that? That's amazing. So the reality is, for those of you who say that they're going to wait and gather their information and find what they got to, get all the facts together, get all the facts straight so you can make the best decision possible. That's the way I think. He says that the reality is you're never going to get all the information you need. It's just not, it doesn't work out that way, right? So you're always going to have just a fraction of the information that you really want, and you better be okay with making decisions based on that, just a fraction of the information that you are seeking, right? And that's part of being a business owner. And that, as a business owner, I can really attest to that and say absolutely that is true. All right, so the faster you can make a decision, right, the sooner you'll find that it's the right decision or not. If it's right, then you stay the course, and if not, then you course correct. I gotta stop right there because that is amazing. See, I'm in a multi-level marketing business, right? And so I'm a trainer there, and part of what I do is try to show people that there's a great opportunity out there, and I offer it to them. Of course, there's no, you can't force anybody to do anything. This is a voluntary army. Even when you get people to join the business, they don't stick because they feel like it's too much for them or whatever. They allow other things to get in the way, and they don't prioritize this business, and they end up quitting and blaming us for their quitting, right? And there's a lot of people that hold off and they say, yeah, you know what? I need this opportunity, but I don't know if this is it. I don't want it. I'm not sure. They give us all kinds of reasons. I'm swamped. I got church things. I got family things. I got, my job stuff. I got stuff, my kids. Everybody says that their plate is full. Now, here's the thing. They're really scared, to make a move because they don't know if it's for them, and they're afraid of trying something and then it's not for them. And for me, I'm sitting here like, okay, first of all, I left a pretty good job to do what I do now, right? And I love it. I think it was worth the risk. So I'm always sure. I'm like, here's my example. And then second of all, what is the whole thing about taking a risk? Like, seriously, if you don't take a risk, there is no reward. It's an old cliche, but there really isn't. How do you go about life without taking risks? How do you go about life without taking? How are you going to find a girl or your husband? How would you know if you don't take a risk and talk to somebody? Right? Now he says it's okay. Pretty much what we're saying here. It's okay. What you got to do to, what you should fix this. I'm sorry. What are the words here? We want to encourage people that, instead of being undecisive because you're scared to make the wrong choice, make a choice. And if, the faster you make a decision, the sooner you will know if it's correct or not. And if it's right, then all right. If not, then change the course. That's all it is. I'm seriously disappointed in a lot of Polynesians that I've been meeting lately. Not just Polynesians, but I'm gonna just focus on Polynesians right now because it just seems like through the experience that we're having here, that Samoans are just not built for business. And you can take that how you want it. I'm a straight shooter, for the most part. All right, but what I find is a lot of people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm gonna build this, I'm gonna do big things. And nobody cares if you're going to try and fail, but when people come in and they just don't even try, that's embarrassing. And I see a lot of people just straight up tell me, blatant lies, and just be like, yeah, I'm going to be there and you can count on me and I'm not going to let you down. And then they block me and I'm like, what the hell? Like, where is the integrity in people these days? I don't understand. Where are the integrity in the men today? People are not people of their words. And again, I said it early in this video. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, please try to prove me wrong. But where are the people? And I'm gonna straight out call the men, calling out the men. It just seems like we aren't up to par these days. Seriously, it is very frustrating. It is super frustrating because, we as a person of any culture, you want to see people in your culture succeed and thrive. You want to see people get to the next level. You want to see people move out of the hood. You want to see people move out of their in-laws' house. You want to see people move out of their parents' house. You want to see people be successful in whatever it is that they want to do. But if you aren't a person of your word, I don't know how far you think you can go. So I love this right here because he says the faster you make that decision, the sooner you'll find out if it's right for you or not. All right. And so I just want to encourage you that there's something that you have been on the fence about. Just take a shot. Just take a shot. Give it a try. If you don't like it, hey, don't do it again. That's all. Now you know. One of the things I'm teaching my kids right now, and they love to call out to me like, Dad, and I'll turn around like, what's up? And they'll be like, I tried something different today. And they know that I love that. They know that I have a joy in my heart when they share that with me. And I go, what did you try? What did you eat differently? Because can you imagine you go to the same restaurant, same drive-through, and you order the same thing on that same damn menu, never try anything different. I would hate that. Even though I'd be going straight for the same stuff. But you got to try some new stuff out there. Take a risk. See where God will lead you. All right, so moving on. One indicator of high performers and effective leaders is that they are incredibly decisive. Right. Notice, I did not say that strong leaders make the right decisions every time. I said that they are incredibly decisive. They make a choice. He talks about George Bush, who says that he called himself the decider. He says he agrees. As a president, your job is to decide and live up to the consequences. Right. So over time, you'll begin to develop. Check this out. He says, the best thing you can do as a leader is make fast decisions. Over time, you'll begin to develop your gut decision-making skills, and you'll end up making better decisions more often. It's a game of repetition, and as an entrepreneur, speed of implementation is king. If you and I are competitors in the exact same industry, and we go to a marketing conference, and where we learn a new revolutionary lead generating strategy, then it comes down to this: the business that can pull the trigger and execute the marketing strategy the fastest will dominate the market. And so, my friends, Make a decision, make it fast, and kick ass. That's huge. That's huge. So we can get the same kind of training. We can go to the same schools, have the same licenses, the same degree. But if I pull the trigger faster, if I execute faster, I will dominate the market more than anyone else. That is a key to you all, right? If you want to see yourself at the next level, start saying yes to opportunities. Start seeking out opportunities and jumping at it. Even if you're not ready, jump at it. Just see what happens. See what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? You end up back at square one and says, oh, that didn't work. Oh, well, it's all good. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. You know, and he says the worst thing that you can do is not make a decision. That's the worst thing, right? But I love that. The business that can pull the trigger and execute the market strategy the fastest will dominate the market. Therefore, make a decision, make it fast, and kick ass. All right. So he says he's had other moments where, because he didn't pull the trigger, you know, he's missed out on opportunities. And so he used to do this thing where he emails the owners of the gym. All right. And I'm going to just fast forward. You know, and he says because he pulled the trigger at certain opportunities, small things, now he's got opportunities that are bringing in $1 million of passive income every year. The power of saying yes. All right, so let me fast forward. If you find something you're excited about, don't take time to don't take immediate action. Oh, sorry. If you find something that you are excited about, but you don't take immediate action on it, you're probably searching for problems and finding reasons not to do it. The longer you wait, the less likely you are going to pull the trigger. There's something we learned in our business called the theory of decreasing intent, where if I say I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, but I don't pull the trigger, I decide to hold off and do it at another time. What happens is, sorry for all that extra noise. What happens is time's going to pass. Next week's going to come, and the following week, and the following week. And you'll find that you still haven't done anything. It's the law of the diminishing intent. You intended on doing it, but because of time that passes by, what happens is it becomes less and less important the further away we get down the timeline. And so your intentions diminish. Even if you went home and said, I'm going to for sure do this, let too much time go by and watch how intent will start to diminish. All right, so let's see. We basically had an opportunity that required a decision, and he wanted to do the research, and he decided to jump for it, get onto this newsletter thing, hired a company to help him out, and now that decision is bringing in $1 million a year for him. That's just on the side. All right, so in his biography, General Colin Powell talks about the 40-70 rule, and he says to make a decision, great leaders need as little as 40% of the information and no more than 70%. In other words, those who wait to gather the 100% of the information and facts before making a decision end up losing the edge of business and in life. So how do I, that's awesome. All right. So you only need between 40 and 70% of the information to make a correct decision to get to the next level. So how do I become more decisive? Well, as it turns out, you can become more decisive by building your decision-making muscles. So he says, first of all, you have to realize that the reason you're indecisive right now is because you're probably assuming that a bad decision is going to result in catastrophe and chaos. We read this earlier in this book. Is the reason why a lot of people don't make a move is because they're already anticipating something bad, right? You're anticipating something bad is going to happen. Right, but what's the worst? What's going to happen? So what you got to do is get rid of that anticipation of something bad, and just ask yourself that question: what's the worst? All right. So the reason why the reason why you feel that way is because you're operating out of a place of fear, which the Bible says that God did not give us the spirit of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Rarely does a single decision lead to total chaos and failure. So you can stop overthinking that fact. Ironically, the way you become a confident and certain leader is by being decisive and using speed of implementation to your benefit. Look, there's nothing scary about making a bad decision. When we make decisions, they either work out or they don't. Right? So what you imagine is going to happen as a byproduct of making the wrong decision is often far from reality. All right, so pretty much give yourself a gut check, and you just ask yourself, is it reality what I'm really scared about? Is that really going to happen? Could it really happen? And more than that, indecision is a choice. So can you guys be more decisive? Of course you can. All you have to do is decide. All right. So when you don't make a decision, you end up letting circumstances decide for you. That's one of the best things I've read all year. If you don't make a decision, all right, you're going to let your circumstances decide for you. So when things are bad and you decide that you're just going to go curl up in the ball and not move forward and not fight back, guess what's going to happen? Your circumstance will start to make your decisions for you. They'll start to run your family. They'll start to take care of your wife. They'll start to raise your kids. Right? So typically that's not going to be a favorable outcome for you. So I give you permission to make a decision. If you figure out that it was the wrong decision, then all you have to do again is quickly course correct. Right? So stop freaking out about the little things. LeBron James said, LeBron may have just put it the best way here in this quote. He says, I always say decisions I make, I live with them. There's always ways you can correct them. There's ways that you can do them better. But at the end of the day, I live with them. All right. Make your decisions, live with them, because fretting, being worrisome, doesn't undo anything, and wishing doesn't change the future, guys. So it's huge. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can fix by worrying more about something, any given topic right there. So we covered 2 pillars earlier in this book, right? And the 6 pillars, there's 6 pillars that we're going to cover throughout the book of effective entrepreneurial leadership. And so this is number 3, and it is called decisiveness. All right. How decisiveness serves you. All right. So pretty much decisiveness is your ability to make decisions quickly and under pressure when you don't have 100% of the information required. Just a little recap of what we covered earlier. It's something that all entrepreneurs need, and it starts with the small things in life. Like, what shirt do I wear today? What time am I going to go work out? Do I drive with Lyft or Uber? Am I going to eat sushi or steak? Am I wearing shorts or pants? Make these small decisions quickly so that when you get to that fork in the road where a big decision needs to be made, you can make it swiftly and confidently. It's easy to get stuck when you simply don't have all the information you need. And so we encourage you to make a decision. For the entrepreneurs, that means more often than you'd imagine, always making a decision. Always make a decision. Your instincts will start to tell you to drag your feet and wait until tomorrow, right? Until there's new information available. But waiting is hardly ever the smart move. Again, Colin Powell and his 40-70 rule. Okay? You only need more than 40, and you can do it with less than 70% of the information required to make a big decision. Again, his rule states, I just cover that. How decisiveness serves you. A company that makes good decisions quickly has a higher metabolism, which allows it to act on opportunities and overcome obstacles. And finally, we finish off this chapter with an exercise. As I said, you want to become more of a decisive person. Okay, you want to build your decision-making skills, your decision-making muscles. I want you to make a fast decision. And you can start this by having a little fun with your friends. Get together with your friends and talk about what you're going to do this weekend together, right? And then start to make a decision, be fast, and act on it. Be decisive. Tell the group of friends exactly what you're going to do. It says you're going to be pleasantly surprised to find out how much they appreciate your decisiveness, and you'll quickly see how they look up to you as the leader. That's cool. Or how about the next time you're going to go out on a date and try to figure out where you're going to go for dinner, and you and your date are playing the "where do you think we should go" game. Don't hem and haw. I never heard that before. Be decisive. Make the call and get that date going already. You know, ham and haw. Never read that before. So next time you're on a date, instead of playing do you feel like Chinese? Do you feel like this? Do you feel like that? What do you want to eat? Just pick a spot and go. Get your date on the road already, right? Getting good at making these little decisions quickly will add confidence to you, and will help you to make bigger decisions in life quickly and with a lot more confidence. Remember that at the end of the day, the person who makes the fastest decision ends up winning the game. So make decisiveness a new habit. I love that. That's so awesome, guys. So pretty much get rid of your undecisiveness. You don't want that, because people who are undecisive, you are going to allow people to decide for you. You're going to allow circumstance to decide for you. Your situation will decide for you. If you don't make a move, you don't want to be like a deer caught up in headlights, just standing there not knowing what to do, where to go, what we're going to, what's the next step. Just make a decision. People will respect you more if you are making a choice when you're wrong, as opposed to someone who is afraid to make the wrong move, and so they don't choose at all. And respect will go a long way for you guys. Right? It's all about being an influencer, right? It's all about being a leader. Make a decision. If you don't know what to do, just pick one. Pick one. My wife says that line all the time from Moana. Right, when she's like the crab, she's right here between the crab's eyes, and she's looking at both of the giant eyeballs, and the crab's like, pick one. Or John Panay, any John Panay fans out there? All right, he says, why is there a line at KFC? He was like the fourth person in line, and he was like yelling at the person who's in the front. What do you want? Chicken or chicken? Get out of the line. People hate those who are undecisive. And it's not always that they don't have an opinion. It's just that they don't want to take the risk of making the decision, making a suggestion, and then looking like a fool. But anyways, guys, it's been almost an hour for this video, and I told you it was a long chapter. There was a lot of stuff to share in there, and I had a lot of input myself. But if you guys are new here, please support the channel. Share, like, subscribe. Again, this is all about self-development. And as we leave, I just want to give you a couple words here. Just be loving to your neighbor. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. In this time, there's all kinds of craziness going on. And, the worst thing you can do or experience is, as the world is going crazy and tearing itself apart, is to see your own brethren push down others and keep each other down. Like in this time right now, the best thing we can do is bind up with other people. Bind together in love and unity. It's just a lot of crazy stuff, guys. Anyways, before I go, I just want to say, I'm a big seeker of truth. Big seeker of truth. You ever hear about the rabbit hole? I'm in that rabbit hole all day long. And you can either say I'm crazy or someone who is adamant about finding more truth. I prefer the latter. But I just want to say, guys, Jesus Christ is the way, the only way. If you don't know him, get to know him. If you lost your way with him, find your way back. All right. In the meantime, while we're waiting to see what goes on next in this crazy world, what tomorrow holds for us, just know that you are loved, you are blessed, you are highly flavored. I'm hungry. Anyways, peace and blessings to y'all. God bless you. Come back tomorrow for the next chapter, or maybe in 2 days, hopefully, right? But in the meantime, man, just share and support the channel. I really appreciate that. And God bless you all. All right, peace.